Hello, my name is McKenna Mason. I'm currently a student here at Indiana Wesleyan, majoring in psychology. If there's one personality test that I feel like really speaks to who I am and feels very accurate in the specifics, it would be the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram Type 2 Wing 3, which is labeled as the hostess. This label makes absolute perfect sense to me, considering that I feel one of my main focuses in life is to build relationships with the people around me and make them feel taken care of. Type 2 is labeled as the helper. 2s are empathetic, sincere, and warm-hearted. They are friendly, generous, and self-sacrificing, but can also be sentimental, flattering, and people-pleasing. They are well-meaning and driven to be close to others, but can slip into doing things for others in order to be needed. They typically have problems with possessiveness and with acknowledging their own needs. At their best, unselfish and altruistic, they have unconditional love for others. Although I've never been quite as serious and deep as most 2s that I know, which is where my 3 side comes in. 2 Wing 3s are known to be a little bit more lighthearted. When 2s are healthy and in balance, they really are loving, helpful, generous, and considerate. People are drawn to them like bees to honey. Healthy 2s warm others in the glow of their hearts. They enliven others with their appreciation and attention, helping people to see positive qualities in themselves that they had not previously recognized. In short, healthy 2s are the embodiment of the good parent that everyone wishes they had. Someone who sees them as they are, understands them with immense compassion, helps and encourages with an infinite patience, and is always willing to lend a hand, while knowing precisely how and when to let go. Healthy 2s open our hearts because theirs are already so open, and they show us the way to be more deeply and richly human. However, 2's inner development may be limited by their quote-unquote shadow side, pride, self-deception, the tendency to become over-involved in the lives of others, and the tendency to manipulate others to get their own emotional needs met. Transformational work entails going into dark places in ourselves, and this is very much goes against the grain of the 2's personality structure, which prefers to see itself in only the most positive, glowing terms. Being a 2 affects my worldview and motivation based on the fact that most things I do are revolved around the idea of what relationships can I either build or strengthen with those around me. One of the motivational theories that really caught my attention when we first discussed it in class was the idea of the expectancy value theory of motivation. Within this theory, a learner's motivation is determined by 2 main independent factors. These factors include the expectancy of success, which is the degree to which people believe they will be successful if they try. This is the most important when choosing whether to learn something. The second factor is task value, which is the degree to which people perceive that there is personal importance, value, or intrinsic interest to do the task. This is most important when gauging actual success. A few examples of factors that might play a role in our expectancy of success and task value are life events, social influences, and the environment/culture. These result in what we call the motivation equation, which is value times expectancy of success equals motivation. The second theory I took note of was the trans-theoretical model of change. The trans-theoretical model, also called the stages of change model, developed by Prochaska and De Clemente in the late 1970s, evolved through studies examining the experiences of smokers who quit on their own with those requiring further treatment to understand why some people were capable of quitting on their own. It was determined that people quit smoking if they were ready to do so. Thus, the trans-theoretical model, TTM, focuses on the decision-making of the individual and is a model of intentional change. The TTM operates on the assumption that people do not change behaviors quickly and decisively. Rather, change in behavior, especially habitual behavior, occurs continuously through a cyclical process. Stages of change include pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, and then finally termination or relapse. There are different types of motivation, and as it turns out, understanding why you are motivated to do the things that you do can help you keep yourself motivated and can help you motivate others. The two types of motivation includes intrinsic, which involves doing something because it is personally rewarding to you, and extrinsic, which involves doing something because you want to earn a reward or perhaps avoid a punishment. An example of intrinsic motivation in my life would be when I learned how to longboard during quarantine. Longboarding is always something that I've wanted to learn how to do, and an activity I always thought looked so fun. So I practiced almost every day for 3 months, and by the end of the summer, I was able to longboard better than I would have ever imagined. Another example of intrinsic motivation in my life would be when I took a marriage and family class last semester. This class was not required for my major, but I decided to take it as an elective solely because I was highly motivated to learn the content of the course because I felt like I could actually apply it to my everyday life. When I took this class, I felt more motivated to complete the coursework and projects because I had intrinsic motivation to learn what was being taught. An example of extrinsic motivation would be the time that I majored in history pre-law my freshman year of college. While I did have interest in history and thought I had interest in being a lawyer, the more self-reflection I did, the more I realized I was only picking that as my career because I thought it would make me a lot of money and earn me respect. I found myself being so unmotivated to ever do work pertaining to law and eventually switched my major and career path based on the realization that this decision was purely based on extrinsic motivation. Throughout the years, I have seen my mindset change in certain aspects of my life and noted how this mindset changes my behavior. Throughout high school, I would consider myself to have more of a fixed mindset. I thought that everyone was born with a certain set of skills. I thought that I was born with a certain level of intelligence and that I would never be able to surpass that once I hit my peak. Going into college, I picked up a certain major because I thought it would be easiest for me. I didn't believe I could do well in other areas of school, so I didn't even try. After being in college for a year, I started migrating more towards a growth mindset. I realized that intelligence was not simply a set value, but a skill that could get better with practice and exercise. I started taking classes in uncharted territory, experimenting and doing well in science classes that I never thought I would be able to succeed at. Now, at this point in my life, I don't sell myself short of anything. I realized that if I have a genuine motivation and an open mind, I could succeed in almost anything I apply myself to. One aspect that is highly influential in motivation and learning is our values and foundational beliefs. Your values are things that you believe are important in the way you live and work. They should determine your priorities, and deep down, they're probably the measures you use to tell if your life is turning out the way you want it to. When the things that you do and the way that you behave match your values, life is usually good. You're satisfied and content. But when these don't align with your personal values, that's when things feel wrong. This can be a real source of unhappiness. And that is why making a conscious effort to identify your values is so important. Growing up as a Christian, my foundational beliefs have always been rooted in my faith. I value individuals not only as human beings, but as children of God, which has a great effect on the way I see others. One of my top values would be empathy, which I believe plays into my two-ness a little bit. seeing the world not only from my own perspective, but from the point of view of someone who is not in my shoes, no matter what the situation or circumstance, has always been at the top of my list of attributes I find central to who I am as a person. One thing that I've learned this semester is that we all have basic psychological needs that need to be met in order for us to have proper motivation. These include autonomy, competence, and relatedness. If these needs aren't met, this can inhibit growth and ultimately result in low motivation. Another thing I took away from this class is how to practically keep yourself motivated. During the self-regulated learning lecture, we talked about the anti-boring study method and how setting specific goals for yourself can really influence how much you learn. This went over how the combination of repetition, variation, and spaced retrieval ultimately ends in successful learning. Overall, I am thankful for this class for giving me the ability to learn more about myself and why I think the way that I do. Understanding the things that motivate me as a person will be very helpful in the long run and is also valuable now in the short term during this period of my life where I feel like I'm constantly making life-altering decisions. I believe that everyone should invest in themselves and dive into who they really are. Thank you.